Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I'm Janika, and today we are going to be discussing the second and final episode for Young, Famous, and African. Again, this is the fourth episode of our Christmas break. So let's get into it. So, episode 5. We're with Swanky, and he's saying that I don't care if you want to have fun, but if she's pregnant, you gotta talk to her parents. So again, this is a reminder. We have just found out that Fantana is pregnant, or thinks she's pregnant with Diamond's baby, and he's now confronting Diamond about it and basically telling him you have to talk to your parents because it's more of the cultural thing to do. And again, someone shows you who they are, believe them. Because in this moment, Diamond literally says, hell no. Like, I'm not doing that. Because man doesn't give a shit. If he gave a shit, he would want to. Anyway, then we're with Annie. And we see her kind of coming for Naked in this moment. And she says to him, like, why aren't you married? She should be your wife. And he's like, well, she's my girlfriend. Okay, well, you guys have been together for 5 years. Kayleigh has made it pretty known she wants to be married. And if we remember, I think it was last season when he did the pre-proposal. I mean, yeah. And Annie says here, she's like, well, a girlfriend can be taken. Well, a wife can also be taken, really. We can all be taken. Anyway, he says, well, then it would have to be, like, if she were to leave him, then it was meant to be. We, and I really think he doesn't think like this, but he's on the defensive. But it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. And he says, what's the rush to get married? Y'all been together for 5 years. And she's been living with you now for, I think it's been a couple years. What do you mean, what's the rush? Kayleigh basically says, it's not about a rush. What's my destination? She wants a purpose. She wants to know where this is going to go. She says, I have a life to live. And his response back to her is, okay, then go live it. So everyone is gone now. Again, this was Diamond's party. Everyone's gone now. Fantana is ready to do that test. And she does it. And y'all, thank babe Jesus, she's not pregnant. She's pretty happy that she isn't pregnant. However, Diamond isn't. Diamond is very upset that she isn't pregnant. And it was in this moment that I realized, oh, this man just wants to impregnate women. He wants to plant his seed all over Africa. That's what it felt like, maybe even the world. He's like the black version of the man with 1,000 kids. Like, I think that's what he wants. And it's a little disturbing. It's a lot disturbing. She explains that the reason she was siding with Diamond because, like, with Nadia kind of coming for him, she was siding with him because she's like, if I was pregnant, I needed to make it look like I support him because she obviously would want a father for her child. And then Swanky basically shows up and he is happy that she isn't pregnant. And I think a lot of us would be moving on. Zari and Shakib are fighting over Diamond. He says to her that you're putting me in this situation. And I think it was her who said, I don't give him the power. And she tells him that you're acting bipolar. And goes as far as to call him a narcissist. Like, I don't think Shakib is a narcissist. Actually, I think Diamond is, but I don't think Shakib is. I think he's feeling threatened, and I think that he is valid in thinking the way he's thinking. Anyway, Diamond calls Kefi, and she's pretty confused as to why he's calling her, and he's confused on how he got her number. But he's basically calling her because he wants to meet up. More on that later. Louis is with his cousins. I didn't know he had any family that was outside of the confines of the religion, but he does. Apparently, his parents hope that he would return again. I don't know what that means for them. If he would have to abide by the rules, not sure. He mentions that he wanted to fast track having a child so that he could feel accepted by his family. I think there's a lot of reasons why he wanted to fast track this to feel accepted by someone who would love him unconditionally. And now we're seeing this too. And as much as I want to support whatever decision he makes, it is also unfair to the child to have that kind of pressure on them. That's not a it's not a good reason to have a child. Have a child because it's what you want to do for your reasons. That has nothing to do with acceptance. Anyway, Annie is throwing a party, but I think she calls Annie first to have a conversation with her. Um, I don't think I got anything down about that, but Nadia is at Kefi, and Kefi talks about Zari's comments about Kefi's wedding being an advertisement and not real, because she's really butthurt about that. I mean, it's a rude thing to say, especially when you don't know someone from before. But yeah. Louis, Kayleigh, and Annie are meeting, and he asks Annie, you got so many men after you, I'm sure. So why surrogacy? Duh. Okay. And there's gonna be a lot more foot in mouth comments that Louis is gonna make towards Annie and her path to becoming a mother. And I do believe she explains this more in depth. I don't think she explains it here, but she does kind of say like it's a pretty ignorant thing to say. She does school him a little later, so I'll wait for that. But it's a lot of not thinking. It's kind of this man, well, really, truly, his privilege as a man, thinking that, well, I could just go out there and go get it. The privilege of being a man, the privilege of having money, the privilege of all of that. Whereas her story goes a lot deeper than she says straight up, surrogacy was not my first choice. There's a reason why I got here. Anyway, so the meeting then with Kefi and Diamond is happening now. This is going to be perfect. He wants to make something with her because he's under her. And she says, I don't usually date men from South Africa. That's a choice that she's made, for whatever reason. And she asks him, so how's your relationship with Fantana? And without even a moment's thought of how this is going to come across, this little pipsqueak of a man literally says, oh, we smash sometimes. I'm human. I gotta smash sometimes. That is disgusting. Now, listen, it's human. Fine. People do it. It's fine. I've been there. I've done that. It's fine. But it's the just blatant disrespect of women that I have an issue with. It was gross. It was a gross comment. And in this moment, doesn't Fantana walk in and say, what's this? Now, I'm unclear if Kefi called Fantana to say, listen, your man's is like calling me up, or if for some reason Fantana just was in the area or something. I'm sure Kefi called her, but it's It's like in this moment, you're literally seeing this man disrespect you. And we'll see where this doesn't go in a bit. That's episode 5. Episode 6. So Kefi says, so do you mind telling Fantana what you told me? And he says, I told her we smash. If Fantana's like, but I would never use that word. So are we having an issue with the wording? Because the wording isn't, I mean, it's not nice. Don't say that. There's other words to use. But the wording isn't the issue. It's how he's saying it. How he feels. He doesn't give a shit about women. They are just there for his pleasure. So he says, well, Zari says shit. Nadia says shit. We're only smashing. And she says, but wait, you're also, you refer to me as that, but you're also heartbroken that I'm not pregnant. So she's like, should I use terminology like, should I say you're average? I said, shit. Now, does she mean average in terms of skills? Because I do think average is actually generous. Or are we saying average in terms of his size? Which I think that's about accurate. Honestly. He says, I gotta go to the washroom, which he literally dips out. He never comes back. He said, this is what happens when you go for the older ladies. Who told you though, sir? No one told you. No one asked you. You inserted yourself into Kefi's life. Does Kefi come across as a kind of, it's amazing to me that Zari even found you at all remotely attractive or unattractive, and only mean by his looks, just desirable. Kefi ain't it. You unfortunately have to go for women like Fantana who they're gorgeous. They can have whomever they want, but are still lacking this confidence. Kefi ain't it. Anyways, Annie's back. And she says that while she was away, she was actually in the hospital. She did send a message out to everyone apologizing for what she did, but Nadia did not receive the message well. Annie and Annie in this moment meet up, and Annie's like, what is going on with these people? Swanky, her biggest thing is Swanky, because you're like, you two have a history. He's not just a friend, he's family. Annie does say that she wants to kind of rope Naked in to arrange kind of a sit down with everyone so that she's able to have these apologies with people. But she says besides that, she does want to sit down with Zari one on one and have a conversation with her. So we'll see if that does happen. We'll talk about it soon. Diamond, meanwhile, is meeting up with Naked to tell him about the Kefi and Fantana situation. Then Lewis and Swanky come and they're playing pickleball. Then Lewis asks about some texts between Diamond, Zari, and Jakib. I think these are the same text messages that Diamond mentioned to Shakib saying, tell her to show you the messages or whatever. The Naked is like, Diamond thinks that Zari still wants him. Of course he does. No woman who's been touched by the Diamond could ever not want him. Not only that, but ones that haven't been. There's no way that you wouldn't want him. Ugh. Anyway, it is in the moment he says Zari still loves him. Like he is so caught up in his shit that he thinks everybody wants him. He grosses me out, honest to God. Zari and Annie are meeting up now, and Annie straight up just apologizes. And Zari does say, like, I forgive you. But I didn't come alone. She says she came with Swanky, and Annie didn't know. Then in walks Swanky, and Annie immediately goes into the voice notes. Here's the thing, the voice notes are not the problem. The problem is what transpired. And as far as I was thinking as a viewer, y'all squashed this shit in last season. Why are we still talking about these fucking voice notes? They don't matter. But he says to her, there was no voice note. I heard you on the call. I was on the call. Because from what he is explaining is I was on one phone and Annie was on another phone. There was no voice note. He says, I'm not mad. He just wants the accountability. He says, no one is perfect. And the reason why they are the way they are in these moments is because they're both fighting to try and have this friendship. And it's so true. These two, I mean, honestly, I was intrigued by this show initially because of the dynamic between Annie and Swanky. And I love both of them. And this was kind of how the show started, with Swanky and Annie being introduced into the world of South Africa with with Connie. So I I hate seeing that they're not friendly with each other. And the fact that they are a family that's been a part of each lives for 20 plus years. This shit ain't worth it. you know. So we'll see how that kind of goes for them. But they hug and I really do hope that this is it. This is the end of the problems and they're gonna be fine. So then we see Naked and Kayleigh, they're chilling, and he asks, like, aren't you tired of people asking about marriage? She isn't. She wants the marriage. She's like, well, it's a valid question. And he doesn't want to talk about the wedding, about weddings. He doesn't want to talk about marriage. He doesn't want another divorce is the biggest thing that he says. And I understand that. I mean, he's been married and divorced more than I have. But even being married once and being divorced once, it does create anxieties and feelings of, oh, I don't want to go through that again. So I understand him. But I also understand her. She wants that. She wants that, that commitment, or that feeling of commitment. I don't think marriage defines commitment, but I understand for her that is what she wants. And he knows this. So you gotta give a little bit. So here's that event now that Annie and Naked are kind of creating amongst each other. The issue is that Naked hasn't told everybody the truth as to what's going to happen here. And of course, that's what we get here. Nadia's being, bitchy to Annie. Annie is trying to talk to her, and Nadia is just ignoring her, which is like, okay, listen. Again, and I talked about this initially in the last episode. The issue isn't with you. The issue is between Swanky and Annie. You can have your sides. You can support who you want to support. Fine. But that's not your argument. And I know things have been said amongst Annie and Nadia now. That wouldn't have happened if it weren't for you really inserting yourself in the issues between Annie and Swanky. So what is your, like, really and truly, what is your problem? I don't know, man. Anyway, Diamond walks in and Hannah basically ignores him because she's pissed off about the whole, quote unquote, pissed off about the whole Kefi situation. But she's bullshitting. We'll get to it. Kayleigh then drops a bomb on Nadia and Fantana that she's actually been looking for apartments and Naked is none the wiser. Yike. And again, she does talk about the fact that the reason she's been doing that is because she wants to be able to feel like a home is her home and not his home alone. But you gotta communicate that with him. And I think he ends up telling Swanky that he wouldn't care if she left. Again, I think really deep down he would care. But it's like the fact that you're saying it at all, like I'd be pissed. Then Annie makes a speech, but then it turns around real quick. And Nadia just kind of goes off because I think everyone's starting to realize that this is not about Naked. This is about Annie. So she kind of, loses it. But that's the end of episode 6. So episode 7, Annie ends up leaving because I think the speech that Annie was making was that Annie needs to step up and apologize to people. And I think Annie was feeling, well, I'm going to, but now that you did, Annie could have said nothing, but Annie also didn't have to act like that. So she takes off. Naked goes to apologize to Nadia. I think it's the next day because Nadia obviously took a huge offense that Naked lied to her. They're fine. Lewis is trying to create this kind of speed dating slash will you have my baby type thing. And he's trying to rope Shakib into it. Shakib's a little bit like, this is weird, but he's going to support him. So more on that later. Diamond arranges a bowling day with Fantana, and he says, like, I don't do old ladies. Like, come on now, I wasn't trying to. But what, Zari, I'm confused. And the fact that he says, like, I don't do old ladies, bitch, she's 34. Go fuck yourself. Because I'm, I'm gonna be 34. So the fact that you're literally saying, oh, she's an oldie, the fuck, okay. And he takes the glasses off, which is a goddamn plate, and he admits it. He literally says, take the glasses off because, they just stare into my soul. God damn it. And in this moment, I'm screaming because she forgets him. And I'm thinking, can you please do better? Do better. Have a little more self-respect. This is ridiculous. Annie, for whatever, oh no, sorry, Annie is inviting Naked, Kayleigh, and Zari to something that she's doing. The Naked asks Kayleigh, so are you moving out? Because he's been hearing the rumblings that Kayleigh was telling people she's looking at places. And Lewis said to him that she's not happy. And he says, like, if you're not happy, then get your own place and live your own life. Harsh words. But I understood it and it was amazing because when he says that to her, she literally kind of says, shit. Like, what did you think was going to happen though when you're putting it out there? Clearly people are going to say things and clearly he's going to find issue in it. I don't know, it's weird. So now we have this Lewis speed dating thing to vet his surrogate or his quote unquote plan B because he's now deciding I'm going to try to find love and do this the quote unquote traditional way. But in case that doesn't happen, then I'll have my plan B and it's going to be a surrogate. People who messaged him, it's 4 different people who messaged him saying they'll have his baby, others that he actually knows. And for some reason, he has roped Annie into the situation thinking because she's been through this, that she can lend some insights. This is some bullshit. What is he thinking? And of course, this is triggering for her because she's like, I'm literally here vetting women because I guess that's all women are good for is creating life and not boding well for her on that front. But then on the other side of things, like she says, like surrogacy was not my plan A. She said, I tried to do this. I would try to carry my child. So trigger warning for pregnancy loss. She had 6 miscarriages. And because she had 6 miscarriages, which probably put a lot of strain on her body, obviously, clearly something is going on that doctors aren't detecting initially. And with trying so much and it not be a viable pregnancy, or I'm not sure what stages she's losing and having pregnancy loss, but she opted to do surrogacy. No woman wants to hear that they can't carry their own child. I would be heartbroken if I was told that I can't carry my own child. But as women, when we're so determined to be a mother, we'll do whatever it takes to be a mother. So this is what she had to do. But this was not her first choice. And to see this man make a fucking joke out of it. And I don't think he's trying to be malicious, but I just don't think he fucking gets it. It's not a joke. This is serious shit. And when she's explaining this to him, he doesn't seem to understand how demeaning for women in general that this is. We're more than just baby vessels. And that's kind of how I feel like he's treating this. If you want someone to be a surrogate, then have conversations with them. Determine if this is the route you want to go with that person. You don't do speed dating type shit for the show. Let's be real here. And rope Shakib into it to be like a judge or some shit. And then have Annie to kind of help push you in what direction. Because she's done this. It's just, it's, he's not thinking. And Shakib is trying to see things from Annie's perspective, but Lewis is so fucking defensive that he can't see how fucked up this is. And then he's like, okay, well, if you don't want to do this, then go. He dismisses her. Just like that. Just so freaking just flippant. You can go then. And then she leaves. And then the speed dating happens. It's the weirdest thing. Shakib is like, this is not going to work because, like, this is not how you do things. One person actually has a boyfriend, so it'd be interesting. But then the last girl, there's definitely this, like, chemistry between them that maybe there could be more there. But again, it's just like, I don't know, it didn't feel right. So then we see Fantana is meeting up with Swanky and Nadia, and I guess to tell them, Diamond didn't do anything that bad. You're preaching to the wrong damn choir. And I think maybe her age, she has some growing up to do. She's gonna wake up one day and be like, the fuck am I doing? She's not there yet. But you're preaching to the wrong choir. It's just maybe he was trying to get to know her in terms of Kefi. And Swanky says, I am not getting mad anymore. So you get exhausted when you constantly have the same conversation with people. I'm not getting angry anymore. You're on your damn own. You'll figure it out. I'll only be mad if she cries to me about them. And he says, stay strong, because you're gonna freaking need it. Now we're at Nadia's party where Annie was not invited. Annie tells Swanky kind of what happened with Lewis, and Swanky is pissed. He goes after Lewis, which I think is fair. They're just yelling back and forth at each other. They're yelling fuck yous to each other. It was actually pretty funny. You guys like, yes, Swanky, fuck you. Can you hear Lewis? Fuck you. Like, it's just so, it was a lot. But again, it's just kind of, again, and I think a lot of that Lewis just have his back up with the group. But a lot of that is, you gotta understand where you went wrong. You're not hearing any, so maybe you hear Swanky. I don't know. But Annie literally says, like, I don't want to talk to this man anymore. I'm good. Don't want him talking to me no more. But anyways, that's the end of episode 7. Now we're at the last and final episode, and that's episode 8. Okay, so episode 8. So Nadia understands why Louis is doing this, but he is starting to feel like he doesn't belong here. I think it's not about, "Oh, it's me." Have some accountability. And yes, I do understand why he's doing what he's doing and why he wants to do it. But you also have to have respect for other people's journeys because not all of them are the same. Kayleigh and Naked are talking out their issues or they're fighting. Who really knows? More on that later. Connie is still here and she's here to talk to Naked. They haven't talked now for about 3 months. Um, she says she just needed a break. And she tells him, "You and Kayleigh are toxic." And she says, like, the fact that, like, both of them have kind of come to this understanding that neither of them will get married if they are unsure. But she starts to say, like, what are you waiting for? Swanky is doing a party, and it looks very Bridgerton. Diamond, however, comes in wearing a skirt, and I'm like, the fuck? And Kefi and Annie are just dying when they see him because they're like, what the hell? Diamond says hi to Fantana and just kisses her in front of everyone. And I'm like, fucking, and when he kisses it, I have a visceral reaction to seeing him lay lips on anybody. And y'all, not only that though, Annie's here. I thought Annie dipped out of South Africa, but she's still here. And Diamond does this toast about his relationship with Fantana. And he says, listen, you got issues? Come to me, not my girlfriend. You're what? So now she's your girlfriend? When 2 seconds ago you're saying she's nothing but a fuck buddy? And she's buying into this shit. Have some decency for yourself. Then he tells Fantana, can you stand? I said, oh shit, is he about to propose? I don't know, he didn't. He just basically wanted to be able to kiss her in front of everybody. It's awkward as hell. It was disgusting to watch. Again, anyone he lay lips on, I just can't. And he also says that he loves her, and I'm like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't. He's capable of loving anybody but himself, maybe his children. That's it. Then Kefi does a toast herself, and we're like, oh no, here we go. Ding, 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 round 3. It starts good. Kind of thanking everybody, thanking Swanky and Naked. And then she says, and then cheers to my fake marriage. And Zara's like, wait a minute, we're still talking about this? Zara's like, we could have been friends. And he says, or I think Kefi asks, sorry, are you a Leo? And she says, no, I'm a Libra. And she says, oh yeah, my son is a Libra. They like to start trouble. Damn. Then Zari is like, let's just get into it. You want to get into it? Let's get into it. And Zari says, the socials talk. Like, what do you want me to do about it? But how can you get a divorce when it was a spiritual marriage in the first place? And I'm like, you can ask what's her face from Love is Love After Lockup because she was in a spiritual marriage with his face. I don't remember their names. It doesn't matter. The only person who mattered was her mom. You can ask her though because she would have had a spiritual divorce. Um, then Kefi is ready to just throw a drink at Zari, which was not a good look on Kefi's part. Listen, you get me mad, you can throw out words. Don't throw drinks. It's beneath her, really. So Zari ends up leaving because she's like, I ain't dealing with this shit. And Kayleigh is like, nah, I don't want to be around this. So her and Naked end up actually leaving because they're like, I'm not dealing with the toxicity of these people. We're just gonna leave. Then Lewis starts to talk and he apologizes for many things. To Nadia, he apologizes for yelling. And to Annie, he apologizes for disrespecting her. And he says, I am really sorry. And he means it from the bottom. And I believe him. He definitely means it. And she just says, come here. And they hug. And she apologizes for things that she has said as well because she said some mean things to him. And she says, you are forgiven. And that's basically it with the whole group pretty much. But then we are with Naked, and he has a surprise for Kayleigh. Oh my god, y'all, he's proposing. And he does propose. And I said, are we sure this is not a pre-proposal? Because you can't do that again. But he does ask her to marry him, and she says yes. And that is basically how we end the season. So that is that is it for season 3 of Young Famous and African. This season was good. I enjoyed this season. Um, New faces, old faces, some returning, if not brief or if not, permanently briefly. And it was really good. It was good. Can't wait for season 4. But yeah, that is it for this episode. That is it for the 4th episode of the Christmas break. What's coming next? I don't know because I haven't decided yet. But don't worry, you're gonna get the full roster. It's all good. But yes, we will see what comes next tomorrow. But that is it for this episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps, every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there. And you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.